But I don't want to discuss it in great detail because it's important that they know that we are continuing to push them, but that we don't necessarily put it out into the public arena yet. So I will, now that I know one of the NGO workers is one of your constituents, we will stay in very close touch with you.
Well, I appreciate that. I appreciate your efforts. And again, certainly want to do anything I can do to help, but certainly we want to do everything we can to see that our workers, our Americans, get home yes. safe and sound. And of course, beyond that, want to build a good relationship with this new democratic government in Egypt. So there's a lot at stake here, and I know you're hard at work on it, and I appreciate it very much and look forward to staying in close contact with you. The other item I wanted to bring up is the sanctions on Iran. My background is banking, and so I understand when you have no access to funding, it puts a lot of pressure on you. Now, through the DOD Reauthorization Act, which included the Kirk-Menendez Amendment, we put sanctions on Iran Central Bank. These are very effective. I mean, we're basically saying, those sanctions basically provide, I guess is the way I should put it, that any country or company that tries to buy oil from Iran, they have to pay them through the Iran Central Bank. And they can't do it and deal with the United States banking system. That is a powerful sanction. But it needs to be fully implemented, and we can't grant exceptions. And that's why Senator Graham, myself, and others are sponsoring a resolution supporting the administration and calling on them to fully implement that sanction and to not allow exceptions. I know that creates diplomatic pressure with friends like South Korea, with countries like India, and others that buy oil from Iran. But this is our chance to really put pressure on Iran to stop their nuclear ambitions, short of other options, including, obviously, a military strike. Please address, I feel we need to impose those sanctions as aggressively as we can. I'm asking you to do that. Would you please comment on that?
Well, we totally agree with you, Senator. We are implementing the new Iran sanctions aggressively. The President issued an executive order on February 6th that blocks assets under U.S. jurisdiction of all Iranian banks, also makes it clear that both the Departments of Treasury and State are expected to enforce the sanctions absolutely. We have been traveling the world, high-level teams from Treasury, Energy, and State to explain what the sanctions are to counterparts around the world. We're very frank in these discussions about the requirements of U.S. law, and we have seen a lot of action. A broad range of countries are making decisions to reduce their dependence on Iranian crude, unwind their dealings with the Central Bank of Iran. We are also pushing very hard to make it clear that we'll help countries that have a significant dependence on Iranian crude to try to find alternatives. It is something that they have to look for. They can't just stop cold turkey and not have anything fueling their economies. Some of our friends who are major producers have set forth their willingness to try to make up the difference. So we've had a positive reaction. Just for your information, the EU member states, you take some of those countries were dependent up to 35% on Iranian crude. And Japan have been among the most visible. They've been taking extraordinary steps to try to comply with our sanctions and deny revenue to Iran. We've seen increasing difficulty by Iran in importing and exporting products. They cannot purchase third-party liability coverage for their vessels. So we've stopped them from being insured, which means they can't travel. So travel with, with insurance. So European and Asian companies are actually moving more quickly and reducing their imports and their purchases than we thought they'd be able to. So, we're just relentlessly pressing them, Senator, and we're going to do the very best we can to help them. But I would say that we have some unique situations. I mean, look at Japan, which lost so much of their electricity production because of the earthquake and the Fukushima nuclear power plant meltdown. You know, they have been reducing their imports from Iran in the range of 15 to 20% since last year, because we have been working with them and talking to them, and they're aggressively seeking out new suppliers. But they've got to find new suppliers, and you know, we've got some challenges there. Libya's not back up the way it needs to be. We're now sanctioning Syria, so their contribution is not what it needs to be. But I can assure you, we are working as aggressively as we can to try to meet these very tough sanction targets.
Mr. Chairman, I'll just wrap up here with this comment. Again, thank you, Madam Secretary, for joining us this morning. We are working to help you in the Senate in terms of imposing those sanctions. That's our best shot to really apply pressure to the Iranian government to stand down on its nuclear ambitions, and we'll continue to try to help make those sanctions as effective as possible.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you. I know the Secretary has to leave in just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to yield first to Senator Graham, then I have one last question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We're going to try to do this in 3 minutes. Okay. Tunisia. Do you support the efforts of trying to open up a dialogue regarding a free trade agreement with Tunisia?
I do support that. I know that...
That's good. That's enough.
Okay.
All right. Do you support reprogramming money to help Tunisia get through their budget shortfall for the next 2 years?
I do support that.
And you will seek other countries to support Tunisia?
And we are doing that as you speak, Mr. Graham.
Egypt. Do you believe the cases against the NGO workers are legitimate?
No, I do not. Now,
Do you, good answer. Do you believe that it would be unsafe for our people to appear in Egyptian court given the security environment that exists today in Egypt?
I don't want to go any further than I have in saying that we're hoping to resolve these very soon.
I really believe that'd be a big mistake, and I understand where you're coming from. If you were asked today to certify Egypt is complying with all the conditions in the appropriations bill for receiving aid, could you do so?
I'm not going to answer that either at this point.
Good enough?
Okay.
Okay. Egypt just needs to listen.
Yes.
That she's not saying yes. Okay. Afghanistan. Is it worth it for us to have a strategic partnership agreement? Is it in our national security interest?
It is absolutely in our national security.
And I hope and pray that Karzai understands that this is the last best chance for Afghanistan to be stable and have a bright future, and take the administration up on this offer. Thank you very much for all you've done for our country.
Thank you,
Thank
Senator.
you. And just to follow on one thing that Senator Graham said, does Egypt now realize that the Leahy-Graham amendment on Egypt is a real one?
I think they are coming to understand that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
It is.
And all our people go over there to deal with them, understand.
Yes, sir.
It's real, okay. Because there's been a little bit of a question at the beginning. And I'll follow up with one other question. We have the overall Leahy Amendment, which prohibits aid to units of foreign security forces that violate human rights. And that does have some strong supporters in the State Department, but also has detractors. And I often hear of efforts to narrowly interpret the law in a way that, contrary to its intent, in the past we've had some embassies that applied it only to funding for training and not for equipment, which would be a flagrant misreading of the law. Can you assure me that there's guidance to our U.S. Foreign Service officers who are responsible for applying the law that they'll accurately reflect what we intend and what we've written in there?
Well, I believe that we do implement the Leahy Amendment in a consistent way across the world, and you know, the vetting process requires that the embassy, DRL, the relevant regional bureaus all agree that a candidate either is or is not eligible for assistance, and you know, that's what we are going to continue to do.
Thank you. And I should know, just for make sure we have it clear in the record, that while Israel will remain a member of UNESCO, even though we've left. They will not make, I'm told they're not planning to make their assessed contribution this year. They're remaining there because they know it's in their interest, and they also realize our law, which was done to support them, which required us to leave contrary to our interests, is a law that gives no wiggle room. I would hope that we would at least be able to amend this law, and I think it'd be more helpful to Israel to amend the law to give you the same kind of waivers we've given past administrations on similar laws. And I commend you for your efforts to pursue accountability for the perpetrators of war crimes in Sri Lanka, and I hope you will continue to support international efforts to bring the Sri Lankan war criminals to justice, even though their own courts don't. I'll take that nodding yes to be a yes. And I know finally the U.S. has completed its review on the use of anti-personnel landmines, something we haven't used in 20 years. They're banned by 156 countries, including all our NATO allies. We spend fortunes in cleaning up landmines every year, landmines that we didn't put there. But we're treated as an outsider because we haven't joined the treaty. Do you know when recommendations will go to the administration on this?
I have been hoping that the process would be completed as soon as it could be. So far, that has not yet occurred.
I understand. Well, you and I'll have more conversations on that. I will keep the record open until Friday for any further questions, and we're just about on time. Thank you, Madam Secretary.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.